to moving our unhoused individuals indoors. And here to speak upon that is, of course, the City of Pittsburgh, the Honorable Mayor Ed Gainey. Sir.
First, good afternoon. I will be taking questions afterwards. So I know some of y'all will have them. Good afternoon, everybody. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. As we wrap up our first phase of bringing our unhoused neighbors indoors, I wanted to take the opportunity to share the thinking behind our efforts and also to address some of the concerns that may be coming out of our advocacy community. First, let me say that I'm thankful that we have so many people in our city who are passionate about our unhoused community. Very thankful about that. I believe their hearts are truly in the right place. I also believe that our hearts and minds are deeply aligned on this matter. There's no doubt about that. At our core, we all want to end the issue of homelessness in our city. We all want to ensure that our neighbors are safe and have a place that they can call home. That is very important. One group leading this work stated that they believe that unhoused people living outdoors should not be moved unless we give them credible offers. Listen, I agree with that 100%. That we should have credible offers for them. There's no doubt about that. Which is why we've worked closely with our partners in governance at the county to provide credible housing options to members of our unhoused community. During COVID, we began seeing people living along our city trails when we were forced to space people out and shelters ultimately pushed people outside. Not having a safe, dignified space to call home is a hard way for anybody to live, anybody. And not anything any human should be subjected to. Last year alone, we lost 16 people on our trail. We should not be in the business of losing any lives. Y'all know how I feel about that. And while we know that for some it's a choice, living unsheltered brings about many, many challenges. Challenges that we tried to address and support when we had few credible housing options available. But that is no longer our reality. And if we can offer our unhoused residents safe, dignified, and credible options, then we're going to do just that. That's what we said we were going to do, and that's what we're doing. Let's take a moment. Let's talk for a moment about making an offer credible. What does it mean? Let me tell you what making an offer credible means to us, so that there's no misunderstanding. One, it means that your bed is your bed. Once you are given a bed, the bed is your bed. Two, it's not a place people are asked to leave at 7 a.m. in the morning and then report back in line each and every day to have a spot. It doesn't require that. It's not an emergency winter shelter that disappears in April when the winter is over. It means your belongings come with you. You can bring your belongings. It means transportation and access to support services are provided. These are spaces that are allowing us to turn the corner from COVID-era arrangements to a humane system that can accommodate people indoors. Over the last year, the city and county has been working tirelessly to improve the ability to offer housing where before we could not do, now we can do. And I'd like to thank our partners at the county for helping us achieve that. We work to develop a sustainable housing strategy so that people who come into shelters don't stay there. So people that's coming into our shelters doesn't have to stay there, but are able to move on to transitional housing, permanently supported housing, public housing, or market rate housing, and the support services will move with them. Thus far, we have made great strides. Over 100 units moved into right now. Over 40 in the process or leasing or securing vouchers. Over 50 transitional housing beds created. And the Allegheny County Housing Authority is working on 20 additional units, which should be completed in the new year. Listen, we understand that the problems of homelessness is multifaceted. It is not just about providing a roof over someone's head. It's about providing a pathway to stability, safety, dignity, and really aligning people with the supports that they need in order to thrive. Please note that we will continue to work collaboratively with our partners to address this in our city. We will continue to do what's necessary to ensure that we are providing credible housing offers to people that's unsheltered right now. And with that, I'll take any questions.
All right. Who has any questions? Any questions?
The
Rob?
administration, I believe, outlines, and some people from the county did in a recent city council post agenda that there's a new facility or location that's either coming online or adding capacity compared to last winter. How big a role is that going to play, and what's the relationship between, sort of review some of the facilities that are being made available?
Creates 100 beds. And so creating 100 beds, we're able to provide 100 additional units. And like we said, it'll be their beds. It'll be beds that are there. It's not like they're going to lose their bed, and they will be able to bring, whatever they have with them into the new unit. So it's 100 new beds that will help the unsheltered community.
And where is that new facility?
We got two. Yeah, so
It's the former McNaughton School in the north side. And that is the shelter facility that was addressed in the post agenda. That's where, that's what's created a lot more slack, if you will, in the system's ability to bring folks in, and then get them into that pipeline and system. That's just a small part of the overall growth in opportunities throughout the pipeline. So for example, we also have the former Vincentian facility in Stanton Heights. That's not the folks' first stop in coming in. That's a place that folks who have been, outside, they come into shelter. That's where their needs are assessed, and we can make connections to what's the next type of appropriate supported housing for them. As many of those folks can end up in Vincentian on their way then to a permanent placement. So we're growing the number of options at various stages in the pipeline that folks move through from the street.
So is McNaughton an emergency shelter, or does it offer all the services of the mayor?
There's no emergency shelters this year. McNaughton's not emergency. Emergency shelter is doors open in the morning, you come in, if you can get in, you find a spot, you spend the night, you leave during the day, and you're not guaranteed a chance to come back. That's not what we're providing there. What's happening there is folks are placed, they have a bed that's assigned to them, it's theirs, not just the spot, but the same bed. They can bring their stuff with them, they can keep their stuff in the shelter. They leave during the day, they're guaranteed their same spot when they come back. So it is not an emergency shelter. What we do see though is people are, what we envision is people are not staying there long, as is the case in some of our other shelters. Once we have them there, we're able to assess their needs and then help them progress to something else.
but the Vincentian is different, a little bit different. That's going to be transition. We can move in, we'll be moving them into more of a transition state. That's 52 units, correct? Correct. That'll be moving to the system.
Now, you posted the Three Rivers Heritage Trail on the Allegheny. That the deadline to get out was yesterday. So my understanding is that you're going to be doing that. You're going to be decommissioning this week.
Yes.
And after that, are you going to decommission the jail trail and the South Side River Park?
You're a part of the plan, yeah. We're the plan for it, so we're executing the plan.
When will you be posting those?
We don't know.
Will that be done this winter?
Yeah. Yes.
And what do you say to these advocates that say that's cold-hearted? And these advocates for the homeless that maybe at your house tonight, they feel that you're being cold-hearted to the homeless?
Listen, you heard me say before, I agree with the fact that, we should be providing credible offers of housing if we're going to move them up the trail. And we're doing it. We don't want anybody to have to live outside and not be able to get the services that they need. If we can provide quality housing, unit, one bed that you just heard us talk about, and they can bring their stuff in and get the type of services that's going to help them get better. To me, that's the humane system of making sure that our unhoused community, that we're treating them with the dignity and the respect that they deserve. Because at the end of the day, we're providing a system with them.
But your goal is to clear all of the Allegheny, your goal is to clear all the river trails.
We've been working towards that from the beginning. And now we have some options that we can utilize, and since we have those options, that's the direction we're going.
Do you have any estimate of how many people are living in those other camps right now?
We don't have that one right now.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that there was an incident that took place over the weekend where a homeless person is accused of sexually assaulting a 93-year-old woman who was having a show, had just seen a show in the cultural district, and reportedly was followed by this man, and he went into her house and sexually assaulted her. So, you know, it's interesting timing. What would you say? Because that's obviously something that's very concerning.
Sure. So the specifics of the incident, we can't comment on here. I refer you to public safety to hear about that one. It's an active investigation. Concerning timing, I just do want to note though that we posted the North Side Trail about a month ago, right? And in fact, to your question, Andy, just to add a little more detail, most of the folks there have already left, right? So the final steps in decommissioning the encampment there are going to be happening this week. But in that period of time, we moved nearly all of those folks into some of the systems that we're talking about. So, you know, the timing of this discussion is more related to that phase of work coming to a close that's been ongoing for a while, and to addressing some of the concerns from the advocacy community. To stress that Mayor Gainey and his administration do agree with their fundamental argument that to move someone out of encamped status is only, you know, a credible thing to do if we have a credible offer of housing to provide, which we now have. I'll just note, you know, we've been talking, I myself have been on most of these calls to the organizations that, you know, do a lot of work of stewardship along our trails, river life, principle, riverfront. And we've been talking for 2 years about the fact that, you know, this is a challenge for those trails and the trail users, but absent credible offers to make to people, we had to find ways to, you know, support and tolerate encampment there and make folks coexist until we could reach this point. And it's because of the greater throughput through the system, more space for initial intake, more supportive space, thanks to the 500 and 500 initiative to identify places that we're seeing a greater availability of shelter beds and greater availability of transitional housing opportunities. And so we can credibly say to these folks that we can put them on the path.
The only thing I was going to add to that is one, to the person they got in. You know, my people prayers of it. That's number one. We can't get too much into the personnel. But this is something that we've been working on for a while. You know, you guys have heard me talk about this over and over again. That we were putting the system in place, and when we put the system in place and we begin to utilize it. This is not a microwave bill. This is not something that will go away. This is a system now that we have, where we are actually moving people back into permanent housing. That takes time. We didn't have a system when we came in. When we came in, these are the moves that we did in order to create a system. So when people are moving into permanent housing, we said we would do that and we're on our way of doing that.
Charlie?
How many people who have left the North Side Trail have moved into the housing options that you've offered?
I can't tell you the exact number, right? Because those conversations that we have with them, with social workers and other supportive folks about those moves are not things we can disclose. But I can tell you that the vast majority of folks have left the trail. Every single person has received a credible offer, many of them for space at Concord. And we're confident that every individual who's leaving there has received it, and in almost all cases taken a credible offer of shelter.
So you're saying most of them took the offer?
I can say that they've taken a credible offer of shelter.
You said
So as we go forward, we can get those numbers though, so like, you know, we're still, I mean, from a qualitative standpoint, we're still getting everything that we need in regards to numbers. But you can see the difference in itself.
You were saying previously that you weren't sure how many people were currently with the other encampments on the river. If that is the case, how are you certain that there will be enough beds for them if you're planning to decommission those encampments this winter as well?
Like I said earlier, we're working on it. Those are things that we're working on. We're working on how many were out there. Andy asked that, and I told Andy, we will have that number. We will have that quantified number. We don't have it right now. We're working with our partners at the county in order to make sure that we got the right count, so we can make sure that we got the right bit.
It's about 40 tents behind the jail.
That's why we haven't.
You know, so you're talking about 100 additional units, what presumably 20, 30 of them have already been taken up.
So that's why we haven't posted those yet, right? That's the sequential operation we're working on here, right? Is we made spaces available, you know, we were taking account of the folks on the trail along the north side, lining that up with the resources that we had and the shifting nature of, you know, people moving through the system. When we knew that we had the capacity to move the number of people that we were interacting with on that trail, that's when we started, right? And that's what we posted. We didn't post until we knew that. Those same efforts are underway right now, identifying additional locations while having conversations with those folks, finding out how many of them are regularly there. We'll post it when those two numbers line up. And we believe, based on the efforts underway, that that can happen this winter. And so that's our goal. But when we post the jail trail, or when we post it on the south side, we'll be able to tell you then that we've been able to make the supply and the demand line up.
And Mandy, you know, like I know that when we get this information, we'll share it. But this is part of the system that we're putting together.
And remember, guys, we do not work in a vacuum. The city's not working in a vacuum. We're working with Allegheny County DHS department and making sure that, as the mayor stated, that JP reiterated, there's credible housing for everyone that's there. All right. Any more questions?
Is there a timeline on the trails and extensions? Is it open already or?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, the detention is operating. You know, the city doesn't administer that facility. The city played a role in the zoning, you know, review of the proposal from the operator who has a contract with DHS. And, you know, the north side trail decommissioning, you heard the mayor say it's going to be finished up this week. The other ones, we have a goal proceeding with them this winter, but as I said, it's as we line up our sense of the number of folks who are there with the available options, we're pretty confident that we'll be able to get to both of them over the course of the winter, but we'll make that decision once we have those two things.
And just to clarify, you said one last thing about how many beds are available. You were talking at one point at the beginning about there being over 100 units moved into right now, over 40 in the process of leasing. Could you just clarify what that means? Why would you moved into right now? Is that people who've already moved into the new units?
So those are stats from the 500 and 500 initiative. So those are numbers as of this morning, the status of units that were identified and in process for that program. So those are the things that happen after that sort of first step of shelter.
You know, we have to work very closely with our county partners so they control a lot of resources.
So that's 140 additional units.
There's 100 have already been moved into, 40 working on leases or securing vouchers, 50, the 50 number I'm forgetting, and then 20 vouchers coming online. So
We got 50
190.
transitional housing bed units being created.
Yeah, so that's 210. The stat we were saying that's total 210.
210 and 100 of them have moved in.
It's a rolling tally.
Yeah.
Andrew. So 100 have been moved into, 40 are in process for vouchers or leases, 50 transitional housing units being moved into, and 20 more coming on.
It would be accurate to say about 200 units since last
210 units since last year, and then 100 more of those shelter spaces
year.
that folks are going into their first step.
And that's the new
Correct.
facility.
Could we clarify also the figure 16 people dying last year living outside? Was that like last winter within the calendar year? And also, can you clarify, are those folks who like succumbed to the elements outside, or just total deaths that happened every year?
Yeah, public safety could give you like the statistical, you know, determination. That's 16 folks who were unsheltered, homeless is the official characterization, who died last year in that condition, whether it
Last winter or calendar year? Sorry, just to
year,
clarify.
year.
Within 2024?
That's ODs and exposure.
Yeah. You could check with public safety regarding that one. All right. Thank you, guys.